Allow me to reintroduce myself. You know what it is. It's After Effects. Straight no chasing. I ain't even wasting no time with this. If you haven't read the timeline, go back and read it. Black men versus black women is here. I told you I had something coming. Let's jump right into the BS. First topic. Black men versus black women. Grown man, we gonna start off with you, man, because the fans want to hear from you. Won't you kick us off one?
Okay. I want to talk about protection.
Ooh.
Protection. Now, statistics say that men, black men, women, black women in particular, are the least protected. But I believe that black men are the least protected because black men are usually the ones, constantly, dying at the hands of police or, other violences. But now I want to dive into the protection when it comes to black women. They said that they're the least protected. Now, the biggest question I have is why are they not protected, and are they deserving of protection? Now, I've read some stories that have happened recently, whereas a man, black man tried to protect black woman, and he ends up losing his life. Okay, so we'll take, like, for example, in New York City at the bodega, a black woman tried to purchase some chips for her daughter with her EBT card, and the card kept declining. And allegedly, the clerk took chips from the child, and she got upset, and she started throwing stuff around, throwing a temper tantrum. We're talking about the black woman throwing a temper tantrum around the store. And she later went and got her boyfriend. And her boyfriend came, instead of being a man and talking to the clerk, he went back and insulted him, and it ended his life. Now, and it goes back to protection. Was she worthy of protection? Was she deserving of that protection?
Well, grown man, as you all know, this is Mrs. Sutton, and I must say you have stated a mouthful with your opening argument. Allow me as a black woman to counter, if you don't mind.
Oh, do so. I'm all ears for this one.
All right. Well, here is the problem, because one thing about me is I'm not biased. I call out both sexes. I feel that black women aren't as protected as they should be. On the flip side of that, I think some of that has a lot to do with the black woman in themselves. The reason I state that is you can't ask for protection when you're not willing to follow the lead of the protection.
And
I agree. Let's be honest, not all black women, but a lot of black women are messy. And they create situations and then want to call the black man into it.
Paraventurity. I just want to say this. They're probably going to kick you out of the woman's club for saying that, but go ahead.
Oh, well, if that being the case, they can kick out SB, Superman's daddy, right along with her.
Hey, come on with it. The thing is, a lot of black women are messy. And once
Yes.
they've stirred the pot, then they run to the black man and do not give the black man all of the facts to the situation. And because the black man wants to portray the image of being head of household, protector, they run out to resolve an issue that they don't have all the facts in, which ultimately leads to the destruction of the black man.
SD, go ahead. And then I'm going to wait.
Okay, to piggyback off of what Mrs. Sutton had to say, and let me give like a little bit more of a more personal example. Like for my line of work, basically what happens is when I come in, I punch in and everything like that, I get a report of what's going on. Because my line of work, I deal with individuals that have disabilities and things of that nature, and from time to time, they will have a behavioral episode, if you will. And it's like, if nobody lets me know what's going on, I don't know what I'm walking into. I could be walking into a potentially dangerous situation. So, in other words, don't just come with the dramatic side like, oh, well, I was disrespected and you need to stand up. No, this is what you need to do. First and foremost, be calm with it. Express yourself. Stop being messy. Stop being mouthy. Because 9 times out of 10, that situation is going to end badly. And the first question of what's going to happen is when that person ends up losing their life because of some foolishness or whatever, there is no way that you'll be able to explain that away. Well, what happened? Okay. Now you want to know what happened. Where was this explanation before you dragged your partner into this? Now, either he's fighting for his life or his life is at an end. Quite sure that wasn't the result that you were looking for, before all of this went down.
That's funny that you made that statement, because I'm getting ready to go into the next question, which you just elaborate on. Is it safe to say that the expectations that either has been thrust onto the black man or thrust onto the situation, period, has a certain stance when it comes to information that is either lack thereof or falsified?
Well, I will say that the problem with the whole protection, as Grown Man was saying, is a lot of black men, unfortunately, were not trained properly on how to be that protector, that calm, to get all the information before there is a reaction. A lot of today's society leads the African American men to act first and deal with the consequences later.
Yeah, basically acting on emotions because of what was put out.
Right. As a result, because of the lack of the father in the home, a lot of the streets raising our black men, when they get into relationships with black women, they don't realize the toxicity that comes with some of the black women. Therefore, they're victimized because of it.
Which I'm going to toss this over to SD. You touched on it a bit earlier. Can you speak to the toxicness, like she just stated, that comes with the black women?
Okay, well, first of all, we're looked at as being difficult, being messy, and things of that nature. And the bad part about that is it might be quite a few that are like that, but that doesn't portray all of us as a race. But see, the thing is, we're quick to fly off the handle, especially if we feel that we've been disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
But there's levels to this. Okay, if I feel that I've been disrespected or whatever, first of all, I'm gonna start with myself. I'm gonna take accountability. What could I have done, or what could I have said that could have made this situation play out completely different? Because you do have some of us that we just as cool and calm as you please, and we can have a conversation, and then it'll be that other person that'll escalate it, and then that'll bring us out of our comfort zone and possibly bring out a whole nother personality. But you have some of us that we go into a situation's gun blazing, and how does that start? It starts with the mouth.
Mm.
And what comes out of your mouth, once it comes out, baby, you can't take it back.
Mm-mm.
It's out there forever.
Grown man, speak to that, man. I know, you done been through a lot, bro. Me and you done had plenty of conversations. Can you speak to this expectation of what the black man is supposed to? And I actually have a B clause to that. And why is it so hard, or the perception of a black couple making it is hard?
Well, okay. See, the high expectation of the black man is we're supposed to provide the 4 P's, or I like to call it the 4 pros, which is protection, provision, problem solving, and procreation.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 4 P's that we're supposed to provide. And of course, from a biblical standpoint, we're supposed to be the protectors. Because I notice this day and age, they like to go back to the Bible, or that's what a man is supposed to do. A man is supposed to provide protection. A man is supposed to protect a black woman at all costs, no matter what.
Right, wrong,
and that's our big expectation. But my question is, for what? It goes for naught. Because when we are given that protect, where we are providing one of the 4 P's, we're getting punished for it. Rather we lose our life, we lose our freedom, or we just get ridiculed. And what I mean by ridiculed is, we'll step in and protect, but then she will go back to that aggressor.
Which is,
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is why my open statement was, you have to be black. Black women went from one extreme to the next. And what I mean by that is, we went from, we could not go against the black man for fear of abuse, punishment, or consequences, to we have to be overly independent and overcompensate for the lack of the black man. So when we have the percentage of the black men that actually are in tune with their emotions, actually are decent and good people, the black woman, it ends up paying the consequences for the emotional abuse that it took for that black man to get to where he is. Then we have to compensate for the lack thereof. So what I mean is, you have a good amount of black men who are hardworking men, who are decent human beings, are not in and out of trouble with the law, who understands the definition of being faithful, being loyal, being a protector, and a provider for their home. The contrary to that is, because of that stance, you have a lot of manipulative black women who have come in and bit by bit and straw by strap tore down that structure. So when you get the good black woman who actually sees what's in that black man, who wants to add value to that man and actually fall in line and submit to that protection and that covering, then you get the kickback.
SD, can you speak to that?
Pretty much to elaborate on what Mrs. Sutton had to say, she's absolutely right. By the time, a good black woman gets to it's like he's so frustrated and beat down. It's like now he's built up this wall. His guards are up. His eyebrow is raised. And pretty much he's looking like, okay, what kind of foolishness are you going to bring to my life? And it shouldn't even be about that. The tripped out part is, like I said, we as women, well, first of all, everybody is responsible for their own actions. And a lot of this could be just alleviated if when we talk, we act like we have good sense. Not everything has to be a debate, if you will, or a full out and out war. But unfortunately, there's some females out here that's just who they are. That's the way that they are. And they're not going to change for anyone. And it's like, to me, I'm sorry, but me in good faith and good conscience, I couldn't knowingly live with myself knowing that I caused somebody to either get locked up or lose their life because I created a dramatic situation that didn't need to take place in the beginning, and now this is something that I have to live with for the rest of whatever. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that more or less like we shouldn't be protected or whatever, but the question is, what needs to be protected? Your honor.
Exactly.
Because if you out here representing yourself or carrying yourself in a certain way, and then you hollering about, oh, respect me, this, that, come on now. Come on, let's just be realistic here.
To piggyback off what you said, Ashley, when you said that, it's the most infamous incident that happened this year was the Oscar slap. And everybody would argue and say that, Will Smith was protecting his wife. And it was a whole bunch of women, mainly black women, going to bat for him, saying that's what a man's supposed to do. That's a real husband. And I sort of disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. I'm gonna tell you why I disagree, because see, one, how as a man can you protect a woman who has publicly disrespected you for 25 years?
Exactly.
Okay. And two, when she said herself she didn't need his protection, even though he is her husband, she didn't need his protection. Third, and I want everybody to listen to what I say here, because I'm very clear about this. Okay. To protect a true protector will go about it in a dignified manner. Okay. A true protector will protect without having to use violence.
Come on.
Okay.
That's the real man. That's what a husband does.
Yep.
He acts on logic and not emotion.
Okay. All right. Now, to piggyback off of what you said, now allow me to ask this question or put this out here, if you will. Okay,
Right.
like how can you protect a woman that's been emasculated you, publicly humiliated you? But I'm sorry, didn't she start this drama?
Preach.
Whew.
Preach.
Now,
As another black woman,
Okay.
preach. Because
Okay.
she is seriously, I have to be honest, and I'm sorry, husband, I have to be real, but being a wife to a full-on black grown man who I have no problem submitting to, what I'm not going to do is create drama. And she knows where psychologically her husband is because she created a lot of the psychological problems that he has.
Thank you.
Due to the fact
Thank you.
that you get on a public forum, you demasculate him. You went as far to talk about his sexual
Yes.
situation
Yes.
on a podcast.
Yes.
You have demasculated this man to the point to where you have basically compared him to another black man that did not want you. Let's not forget that.
Exactly.
Then
Exactly.
you went as far to talk about this man's fatherhood, his lack of experience with his emotional trauma with his own father, and how that has affected his parenting with his 3 kids.
Oh, but wait, let me add this to that. Same said female went on to say about how her mother had to convince her to walk down the aisle because she didn't want to marry him in the first place.
Boom. But you
She
thought,
cried. She cried as she walked down the aisle. Okay, well, sweetie, I'm sorry, but was somebody putting a gun to your head forcing you to do that?
exactly. And this is the point right here. As much expectation as that gets put on our men, a lot of black women do not hold themselves to that same accountability. The one thing I have always told my husband is, it is my job to be your peace.
Thank you.
So if I'm not your peace, then I'm creating unnecessary drama. I can't bring you drama and then get mad on how you react. That's what the situation was in that case. Grown
Yes.
man, she brought drama to the table and then got mad when he flipped the table over. You can't have it
Right.
both ways.
Exactly. Exactly.
But what disturbs me is, the reaction, and it was mainly from black women saying that he did that good job by protecting his wife, and if anybody believes that, or they believe that is protection, I strongly suggest you go get some therapy.
now,
Because you don't need violence to do that, like I said.
No,
Go
you
get
don't.
some help.
and I'm getting ready to hop in here because
Okay.
I ain't said nothing in a minute. I've been taking this all in and learning from the wonderful smart people that I'm rolling with. So I'm getting ready to propose this since we all talking about the Will Smith and Chris Rock situation. Here's the question. Black men versus black men. Black woman is in the center of it all.
Yes.
Okay.
Why is it that the situation between 3 smart, strong black folks is the number one most financial gain at this present moment in time?
I would love to hear that answer from grown man first.
We're going to start with him, then we're going to go to SD, and we're going to end it with Miss Sutton. Grown man, go ahead, bro. Kick us off.
Now you ask what? Repeat that question, because I'm trying to process that.
The circus that surrounds these 3 strong black independent people. Why is this situation that has been created for years is such a strong financial gain for the person that's invisible for his pockets?
That's a good question.
Oh,
I don't know. It's just honestly, I don't have a immediate answer for that.
may I take the reins on this one?
Feel free.
Yes, you can.
Okay. All right. If I'm understanding your question, the thing is, this particular situation, shall we say, or the event in which this took place, basically, it's been going downhill for years. They've lost a lot of viewers. Okay? So, don't you hate it when you're minding your business one day, it's something that took place the night before, and everybody is all abuzz, and, oh, well, did you see what happened at the Oscars? Or did you see what happened on the Grammys? Or did you see what happened at the Super Bowl? No, what happened? And see, because technology wasn't what it is today, dare I say, if you missed it, you just missed it. But see, now we have internet. We have Google. Well, what happened? Oh, well, Will Smith slapped the crap out of Chris Rock after he made a joke and everything like that. Wow. Okay, well, see, if ratings have been slipping down through the years, that means they haven't been making any money. And the powers that be behind the scenes, you don't see them, they can't have that. So what happens is something drastic, something dramatic has to take place,
right,
in order for you to want to tune in next year.
So basically, it's sacrificing two black men. They're going to protect you yet again.
Exactly.
And then this is like a circus.
Pretty much.
It is. And the crazy part about it is, I'ma throw this out there, and then we gonna take a short, brief recess.
Okay.
A few years ago, I brought this to someone's attention when I spoke about the Black genocide.
Okay.
Now, people say, what do you mean? What does that mean? We are our own worst enemies. And we are hoping the other part of society, let's put it like that, to kill us off by being our own worst enemy. The Black genocide is literally created to push the Black race into one solemn confined area to kill us off. But they don't have to do that because we're so stupid, we're killing each other off.
Exactly. And back laughing about it.
Exactly. And the crazy part about the situation is, it is the most minute of circumstances that this is happening in. Lack of teaching, lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence, where there are certain African American women who actually get off on having African American men fight over them. It gets them wet. Sorry, boo. It increase their juices to see two men acting like wild animals over them. And this is supposed to be cute because you're supposed to be the hottest thing out here, and you're supposed to want all these men fighting over you. Then you have the Black man who, I'm sorry, were not properly raised to be men. Were not properly taught how to handle their emotions and how to handle these situations. So they're looking for any type of situation that's going to prove their manhood. Therefore, you put a toxic African American woman in a situation with a Black man without the proper self-esteem and teaching, and you have created something for ratings
called The Perfect Storm. Now, we actually going to work through this. I'm going to give Miss Sutton a few moments, and I'm gonna talk to Grown Man and SD for a minute. So that proposes my next question, and for the both of y'all, here we go. Because of that perfect storm of an atrocity that has taken place, I propose this. What exactly could, if any, been prevented for that catastrophic slavery type situation? I'm going to start with SD first, and then we're going to go over to Grown Man.
You said, what could have prevented it?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, okay, let's just take into consideration and remember what these two men do. One is a comedian. The other one is, dare I say, a rapper / actor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, brother had jokes. And this isn't the first time that he was told more or less like to back off of the jokes with them, this, that, and the third, whatever the case may be. Now, all he had to do, he could have just stood up, or he didn't even have to pick that much, like, hey, bruh, you're doing too much. That wasn't necessary.
Right.
And he could have left that. He could have said that from his seat. All he had to do was just stand up. But to put your hands on someone because they said something that you didn't like. But here's the funny part. Anybody that bothered to watch the footage, wasn't Will Smith laughing?
Yeah, he was all the way up until she did what
manipulation happened.
Yeah, right. Right. That manipulation.
But depending on which angle or which shot you were viewing that from, what you didn't see was her giving him the side eye, like, oh, really? You think that's funny? Okay, just wait. I got something for you. That's the look. Basically, it's a look that typically an adult gives a child that's acting up. They doing, so that child is doing something they know they don't have any business.
Like they used to do to us when we was in church.
Come on, somebody. Exactly. And when she hit him with that look, once he stopped laughing long enough to see the look on her face, then that's when he decided to take action.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, I have always loved Will Smith.
Oh, yeah.
I've always held him in high regard. So for me, to say he fell from grace was an understatement.
Very.
He could have had completely different. And to me, anybody else that says, oh, well, I would have done the same thing. No. That's not the kind of protection I need. Mm-hmm. If another man puts his hands on me, that's when I need you to step up. You can say what you want, but you won't touch me.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. But just because, and the distance between, like he making jokes or whatever, that's that man's job. He was getting paid to do his job. You ended up losing money because you put your hands on this man that was doing what? His job. Please make it make sense.
Now, I'm glad you said that because I got to point, since you brought it up, I got to point this to you.
Okay.
Do you believe, since we already talking about it, that he was paid to do exactly what needed to do? Now, the reason why I pose this question, as you know, based on a lot of the information, because as you said, we got internet now, that's out there, and they losing ratings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Perfect Storm, you remember I wrote a blog about it. These specific three have had issues for some years.
Exactly.
These three have had issues for some years. I repeated that for a reason. This is not Chris Rock's first time disrespecting anybody.
Exactly. Come on now.
This is not his first time.
Right.
Over the years,
mm-hmm.
Mrs. Smith has publicly stated that she will never love another man the way she does one Tupac Shakur. His daughter has even written a letter that also came out because of this whole debacle. Stated, "We wish you were alive so you can come back so me and my mommy to be happy." Miss Sutton is back in the game. Go ahead.
This is what I meant when I stated earlier about the drama and the toxicity of some African American women. First of all, you're in love by yourself with a man that never loved you. So therefore, you're breaking your own heart and setting your own self up for a demise that you're creating based off of a fantasy. As a result, you're dragging your daughter into something that she ain't been alive long enough to even understand. Let's start there. Number 2, concerning the Chris Rock and Will Smith pulling on what Grown Man was saying about the protection. The problem with that is she respectfully is one out of many African American women that did not deserve that kind of protection.
She didn't deserve that man to begin with. Let's just keep it all the way real.
Come on, SD. In other words, here's the point. Am I bashing my gender? No. Am I bashing the African American race? No. But here is the problem. The problem lies with, when do we as a community start taking accountability versus living under what everyone else has said? And that's when you hear African American community, we're already tied to violence. We're already tied to poverty. We're already tied to being uneducated. We're already tied to being unorthodox. So when you got on that public stage and slapped that man, as SD stated, for doing his job, you just proved what has been said about the African American community for years. And
you just brought the negativity.
You just put us right back in slavery. One of your actions just put us right back into slavery. Why? Because you just proved what Caucasian people have said about African Americans for the longest. You can't put us in the room because we're going to act like savages. We are uneducated, so we don't know how to act in public. You proved that.
There goes back to my question.
You proved that.
Does black women deserve the protection? Are they deserving of that protection?
The protection that she was deserving of was her being able to stand up for herself. That's the protection she deserved. Because if she would have acted as a real woman in that moment, she would have responded herself. And she would not have allowed her husband, her partner, her confidant to act out of character. She had a charge in that moment. She had a responsibility in that moment to rear her husband back in. And she did not. And that is where I fought her. Because her alone and her actions created a certain stigma for the African American woman. You pulled us back as far as being messy and confrontational and everything else, when she could have stood up herself if she was offended and said, hey, waited until it went on commercial. Hey, Chris, I was offended by that. Instead, you tried to cost your husband. And here is the stupid part about this. You don't make no money, my girl. Let's be honest. Let's be honest here. You don't make no money. That house you living in, he paying for. So you stupid for costing this man millions of dollars that could have been in your pocket had you humbled yourself and acted accordingly.
Acted like a woman, but that's right for the most part, with the exception of the roles, the characters that she's played in her movies. Y'all remember Jason's Lyric?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some time ago, it was more or less she stated she hated that role because of all the roles that she had played up to that point. More or less, like she had to be ladylike and quiet and everything, but like low down, dirty shame, she got on my nerves. She got on my nerves. Was it
She was always a rebellious,
right,
aka strong, independent woman.
Right.
And it's like if I just have to be honest, the roles, the characters that she played and stuff like that, she wasn't acting. She was just being herself on film.
Now, here goes.
Quite a few of these different entertainers, that's exactly what they're being themselves on film. If you bother to pay attention.
Blockbuster alert. I'm getting ready to drop a pipe bomb, and I'm going to walk away from this one because I'm going to let y'all handle it. You ready?
All right, let's get it.
Grown man said, did she need that protection? I want you ladies to answer this.
Did she deserve it of that protection?
I'm sorry. Was she deserving of her protection? Here's a question. Her publicly sleeping with her kid's friend, who at the time was an underage August Alstina. Did she honor her husband? I'm gonna kick it to Miss Sutton, then I'm gonna kick it to SD. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. A relationship with someone is a predetermination as to whether that person is worthy of sharing the same name with you for the rest of your life. So if you can't be faithful in just a relationship, why would I trust you to share the same name with you? When she made that decision, because the claim to fame is they had an open marriage. Here's the problem with that. Where is that? Where is that anywhere? Where is that biblically? Why would I want to share something that I signed my name on the dotted line to have just to me for the rest of my life? Then you low-graded yourself by, instead of sleeping with someone in your status quo,
You got no status quo.
You wanted to go sleep with a child to make yourself feel good. So not only did you diminish your husband in that, but you diminished yourself and you tainted your marriage vows all in one setting. For what? Because I was always taught I could give myself a wet tail. I don't have to go out there and a temporary fix, because that's all it is. You feel good for 2.5 seconds. You riding on the high for a minute, and then what? You gonna need it again. It's like a drug addiction. You gonna keep wanting it and keep wanting it and keep wanting it, because eventually the feeling goes away. So you did all of this for a temporary wet behind and to embarrass your husband and your kids. What kind of black woman are you?
SD?
A narcissist.
Oh.
Period.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, because you most certainly aren't role model material. At least not the type of role model that I would want my children and grandchildren to pattern their lives after.
Facts.
And I mean, I'm just saying because okay, like first of all, open marriage. What is that? Okay, well, if you're talking about an open marriage, my question is, why did you bother to get married in the first place?
Hello,
Hey,
I
man.
started this gangster hits.
When you're single, hey, the more the merrier. What you can do whatever you want to under the sun with whomever. It doesn't matter. You're single, but you're married. You took vows. Y'all are supposed to cleave unto one another. Y'all supposed to turn to one another, comfort one another, respect one another.
Or as our pastor said, just sit there and shut up and don't say nothing and pray for them.
Or you do that too. So basically,
but the fact of the matter, going back to my point, is like she for one does not deserve any kind of protection because she didn't protect her husband and she didn't protect that marriage and she didn't protect the dignity.
Right. But see, that's just one example, though. That's her. That's her issue. That's something that she's going to have to deal with at a later time or whatever. We like to call it Judgment Day. But as far as in general, like, do black women deserve protection and everything like that? I'd have to say still, when all is said and done, the answer is yes. Because at the end of the day, we are women. And, look at it like this. Would you, let's just be real about it. Like, how would you feel if somebody came for your mother? How would you feel if somebody came for your sister, your child, your niece? And in some cases, let's not forget that we are connected to those that we know. Their mouths and their actions keep them in situations where sometimes, guess what? They have to call in the cavalry because they mouthed and wrote a check that they behind can't cash, and somebody is ready to do a full withdrawal on that behind. And now they want to call big brother. Now they want to call nephews. Now they want to call cousins. Now they want to call daddy. Where was all of this when you was bumping your gums?
Facts. I know for a fact as a daughter, the one thing my dad told me well before I got married, he said, if you find yourself in a situation with a guy and he's putting his hands on you, he said, you call me, but my father made it clear. He said, you got one time to call me. He said, and I come in and I handle it. He said, and if you go back, don't call me again. Now, a lot of people will say, oh my God, that's me. That's your daughter. No, that's facts. Because if you keep going back into the same situation that I helped you out of, eventually I'm going to get tired of you crying wolf. And I'm not going to come to your aid when you really need it. When it all...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
When it all boils down to it, does the black woman deserve protection? Yes. But do I feel as though she needs to make herself worthy of that protection? Yes.
Absolutely.
She needs to make herself worthy of that protection, because I'm sorry, if you are if you're creating a situation, then you can't get mad at the consequences that come from that situation. It is the same thing. Black men deserve to be protected. And you protect a black man by protecting his peace. If you are a part of his chaos, you can't possibly protect. You have to protect the black man's peace. Does that mean accepting the erratic behaviors of some black men? No, it doesn't. Because let's be honest, A lot of men, not all, let me state that again, not all, but a lot of men are raised to run through as many women as they can until they finally find that woman that they want to settle down with.
And start a family with.
Exactly. By that
Yeah.
time, and then when they do get with the woman they say that they want to settle down with, they done slept around on her 100 million times before they get tired of it. Now,
Exactly.
can you protect his peace in that? No, you can't.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah. Can you protect his peace when he has multiple children by multiple baby mamas? No, you can't.
No, you can't. The
You're going
stigma.
crazy trying to get control.
Exactly. The
How can you
stigma.
protect a woman who has children by multiple men?
No, but the whole what? No, you can't. The thing is that there is a stigma around the board, and that's why I said that unfortunately there is a genocide as into how the African American man and woman are brought up. And going back to Mr. Sutton's statement when he asked about why is it so hard for an African American couple to be successful, a lot of the reason behind that, in my opinion, is the toxicity before you merge together. The what's taught is run through women, make money, don't protect yourself. So you're running around, you're not using a condom, you're sleeping with all these women, you're making all these babies, you're not taking care of them. Your parents are raising these children.
What about the women?
I'm getting there. Hold on. Your parents are raising these children and or helping you pay child support. On the flip side of that, the women are now being taught, oh, well, get with this man who got all this money and you do everything you can to satisfy him so that you don't have to work and you don't have to do this and you don't have to do that. And it is really a sad situation. So when two African American people come together, they first have to learn how to rid themselves of the stigma and the toxicity in order for them to become one.
Grown man, SD, y'all want to take it?
Yeah. And again, she's absolutely right with that. You know, because like I said, again, as far as the protection and everything is concerned, communication is key. And to me, my thing is when you know your partner, like it's like, look at it like you're playing a game of spades. If you know your partner really well, then it's like certain cues, certain things that are said, you already know pretty much how that situation is going to play out.
Yep.
And therefore you can act accordingly. But see, when you don't communicate, when you don't know each other, then that's when stuff goes awry, because now somebody has said something and this whole situation just has been blown out of proportion, didn't even need to come down the line to begin with. And now somebody has to try to, you know, get the situation under control, and sometimes it doesn't happen. It really doesn't.
So quick
Okay.
question for everyone.
Okay.
Do you believe she ever really truly loved him?
Honestly, no.
No.
Grown man, give me your synopsis, bro.
I mean, if she openly disrespects this man, humiliates him for 25 years, admit that, you know, she didn't want to marry him and that she had an open affair with a minor, absolutely not that she loved him.
Okay. I say no, and I'm going to take it back a little bit further. She actually auditioned for the part of Lisa on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's how they met in the first place.
Right, I remember that.
Right, and she didn't get the role, you know. but more or less like he introduced himself to her and everything. He's like, "Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm Will Smith." And more or less kind of like, "I know that. I'm Jada Pinkett. Like, what's your point?" Okay, that right there, that would have been a turnoff for me. Well, it was nice meeting you, and I would have went on about my business, because right there, you felt that you were a legend in your own mind. But what you needed to do was you needed to connect your caboose to the lead car of that locomotive. That's what you needed to do. And the thing was, he was already a legend in the making back then. And
Right.
he just continued to move. He just continued to move through the stratosphere and everything like that. And pretty much, he was just along for the ride. But it's like, to me, rather than appreciating and being grateful for being connected to him, more or less like, I like to call it short person's complex or whatever. More or less, he had to keep reminding people and letting people know. Napoleon complex had to keep letting people know that she was there. We see you. Because you did, let me say, we don't even have to see you to know that you're there, because you loud as all holy hell.
You must, especially her role in the Low Down Dirty Shame.
Oh, yes, exactly.
And I
And
mean,
I just got to be honest, to me, I feel that's how she really, truly is. That character right there.
Yeah,
I
Especially,
believe all her characters.
especially when it comes to Will Smith.
yeah.
and the sad part about it, and before we wrap up, the sad part in the whole entire situation is because of who he's tied to. A lot of things that have been presented to him, he has not been able to exploit the opportunities because of who he's tied to. And that is why it is so important to be careful with whom you choose to tie yourself to for the rest of your life. What I can say, it was Bishop T.D. Jakes, I believe, don't quote me on it, who said, you know when you are with the right person, when things are steady opening for you, not closing.
You know
Okay.
what? It's funny you brought that up, because we are definitely going to have a part 2 to this subject. So before we get up out of here, I just want to end on this note by saying part 2 is about to be a doozy. And if y'all think part 1 was something, whew, in the words of Ric Flair, woo! To be the man, you gotta beat the man. But here's a little snippet. Don't tell nobody. Part 2, we gonna dive into the R. Kelly situation. And we gonna dive all the way into him, the so-called victims, and everything that goes with this black men versus black women. Part 2 coming soon. This is Said He Said. This is Miss Sutton. That is SD. That is Grown Man. You know how we do it. After the effects, baby.